Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So there you see the pattern, right? The creation of a centrist illusion, right? A temporary centrist illusion, right? With the extremes, right? The outliers on the left and right wings, the right wing reactionaries who don't want to increase the debt ceiling, driven in. And the left forces, such as they are, who are concerned about fraud closures and the rampage of the zombie banks, silenced. And then in the middle, Obama, smiling, meets with Boehner, and they preside over a centrist orgy of cutting and gutting Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the rest. And that will be labeled centrism, civility, rationality, being an adult, dealing with the real problems of the country. And one of the critical points when we can gauge all this is the question of Obama's birth certificate and what is Congressman Darrell Issa going to do? Darrell Issa will become is now chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Government Operations Committee. Now in the 112th Congress, he put out in the first week of the year, he put out his 6 priorities, and not one of them was the obvious one, is Obama qualified to be president? So that leaves the question in limbo unless we pull it out. And, of course, this recent case, the Turton case, Ashley Turton died in this very suspicious car fire on Capitol Hill January 10th. And she had been the chief of staff to Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut, the wife of pollster Stan Greenberg, and that dwelling, right, that premises that those two maintained was apparently used by people like Rahm Emanuel and some say even Obama for various kinds of extracurricular meetings. So again, to get a report on the constitutional defense front and the Obama qualifications for the presidency, let's go to Philadelphia and our good friend Phil Berg. Welcome, Phil.
My pleasure to be on, and you're right, Darrell Issa has not listed this as one of his priorities, and we're getting together a petition. We haven't done it yet because we're trying to think the best way to do it. Also, we've been working now with some people. We're going to put also out pressure, and maybe in the same petition or separate, the pressure on the state legislatures around the country to pass legislation. As of 2012, everyone must prove that they're constitutionally eligible to run for president, or the various states will not put them on the ballot. Now, Arizona passed it to the House, but not to the Senate. There's 5 states currently looking at it, and another 4 are thinking about it. And I think, obviously, the blue states won't do it, but the red states, I think that we have a shot at that. And we're not asking for anything special. We're asking just to prove that you're constitutionally eligible, which will knock Obama out of the box. I mean, we don't need all 50 states. You don't even need 40 or 30. You only need like 2 or 3 of the big states. Texas is interested in doing it right now. So we're going to put pressure on the state legislatures to pass that. And if we do, unfortunately, we would not have accomplished to get Obama out in the first term, which we haven't given up our try on that. We're still doing that, and people should look at my website, which is obamacrimes.com, OBAMACRIMES.com. But we can prevent him from taking a second term because in my estimation and the estimation of, I think there's 52% of people in the country doubt where Obama was born at this point. If the people really knew about this, if this story would hit the front page of the New York Times or the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal or the Chicago papers or Los Angeles or San Francisco, I think that the issue would be resolved post-haste. Some of the people in the American public know it, but if there was just an in-depth article about this, I think the ball game would be over. Just as I believe if Isa would hold, I think he only needs one hearing. He only needs the records of Obama, and the ball game's over. And I say that, and for your listeners out there, I'm not just whistling Dixie here. You know, I really believe 1,000% that Obama is a fraud, a phony. Obama has put forth the biggest hoax in our history, and it's outrageous because everything he has accomplished, which most is not to the benefit of people in this country, is to the negative, to the detriment of people in this country. Just with the various kick-ins that are going on the health care plan right now, various things are happening. And people are really going to get upset with it because it's going to cost the individual a lot more money. There's a portion in there that all businesses spending over a certain amount of money have to file 1099s. I mean, it's really outrageous what that bill was, and Obama didn't care what it was. He just wanted to push something with his name on it.
Bill, let me ask you a question, if I could, to go back on what you talked about before. Of these states that are considering that state-level demand that you prove your credentials, I have two questions, really. Is Iowa one of them? Is New Hampshire one of them? And the other question is that only in the general election, or could that not also be for the primary election, right? Because, if, for example, the state primary ballot in New Hampshire, I guess, has to be approved by the Secretary of State of New Hampshire, as I recall, and couldn't you have the legislature mandate that just it's not directed against anybody necessarily. We assume, everybody's legal, that in order to be in the primary, you have to prove your qualifications, because that's an issue of this year already. In other words, if you want to get on the New Hampshire primary ballot, you've got to get on that ballot, I believe, by November usually of this year, of 2011.
Well, I don't think it's that early, but it's an issue.
Oh, it is, because the primary is going to be less than a year from now.
Oh, great point you make, and that's what it should be. The law should be, should pass, should just be directed that the Secretary of State must have ample proof that the person is constitutionally eligible to be president, and that means it's just like on Obama. It's not just his birth certificate. Really, everyone, I could care less about his birth certificate. The other issue is he was adopted in Indonesia. Obama is just basically a total fraud, and the legislation should just be prove you're constitutionally eligible, and that must be proven to the Secretary of State by a certain before the they're allowed to put their name on for the primary. I agree with you. It has nothing to do with the general. It's where we have to do it before the primary elections, and I think that would knock Obama right out of the box. And you'll see how fast, people will try to challenge that. And more important, we should work on ISA. There's no reason ISA doesn't do that. And really, I think he's violating his responsibility and duty in not doing that, because the issue's out there. And if he doesn't do it, it just shows that the Republicans are in bed with the Democrats, and a lot of nonsense goes on in Washington to the detriment of the American public. And we can't stand for that. We really can't, because everything Obama is doing now, people say that he made at the unfortunate incident in Arizona. Some are saying it's good, some are saying that's not the issue. The issue is he constitutionally eligible to be president? Are all the laws that he passed, are they void or voidable? And I believe they are. But it's time the American public stood firm on this issue. And I'm not giving up, and just bear with us on Obama crimes. We're trying to hit it twofold, one with our eyes and two with the state legislatures, which actually could be more important, because if Isaac fails in his responsibility, there's no way that these legislatures, you're right, it would be good to have Iowa and New Hampshire because the big states, but for a state like Texas does it with electoral college votes, you take Texas and say Pennsylvania, New York, any of these big states, without those states, no one can become president. So with California, some certain pressure put on, some of California probably, because you have a Democratic governor, he'll probably not favor it at this point. But Pennsylvania now has a Republican governor, and I'm from Pennsylvania, a Republican governor, a Republican state legislature. And there's nothing wrong with what we're asking for. We're just, it's not like we're asking to make a law that's unconstitutional. We're saying make a law to enforce our U.S. Constitution. And I think that's the way we have to go. And stay tuned with us at ObamaCrimes.com. We're not giving up. We're going to continue on this, and Obama, if Obama really was constitutionally eligible, he should put the question to a rest at this point, but he can't. And the best thing, and I told you, it's very funny how Governor Abercrombie from Hawaii has shut his mouth, and now Chris Matthews is asking for it. So we're going moving ahead.
All right, Phil, but we got to get that letter to ISA. I don't know. I think it's fairly straightforward, right? Anyway, I hope to see it as soon as possible. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.